Well, with that question going around of what happens next, Piers Morgan held I don't know, a gloat fest today. As you can see, total electoral bloodbath. But Keystal Ball, who was on, is that called Breaking Points? That the show that she does with
Yeah.
Saga. He posed that question to Krystal first of all, and she doesn't say the name, but Bomber, you'll probably remember, some out there will as well. Debbie Wasserman Schultz from the middle of the last decade. I'll explain why the end of the clip, why she has some responsibility as to what's been going on. So here's the analysis from Keystal Ball as to what went wrong.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What I got wrong in this election is that I thought, even though I've been critiquing the Democratic Party, certainly since the Bernie Sanders movement, I thought that January 6th and the overturning of Roe versus Wade and Trump's manifestly authoritarian tendencies, as evidenced by the people who were closest with him in the White House, I thought it would be enough to overcome those problems on the Democratic side. And I was absolutely dead wrong. So a couple of problems specifically with Kamala's campaign. I think there was way too much spending time with Liz Cheney, spending time with Mark Cuban, way too little time spending time with Bernie Sanders, spending time with Sean Fain, who's the president of the UAW. And in general, Piers, something I agreed with from your intro is the last guy who did the best with the coalition that is fleeing the Democratic Party right now is Bernie Sanders. And Democrats did everything they possibly could to block him from not only ascending to, be the Democratic nominee, but to block him from having any significant influence in the party. He offered a competing vision that could actually combat the fascism that you see with Donald Trump. Just talking about fascism, talking about how bad Donald Trump is clearly not enough to get the job done. And so we have the results that we have.
So Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the head of the RNC in that election where, let's be honest, sorry, the name just jumped out of my head. Vermont, she just said the name and it's just jumped out of my head. Bernie Sanders was railroaded. That she was the head of the RNC when that happened, and he got railroaded. He should have had that position in 2016, and she was in charge of the RNC when he got railroaded. And looking back on it now, what's happened is, this is my assessment, is that the Republicans, as revolting as who Trump is, have gone more populist, and the Democrats have stayed establishment, and this is just a big fuck you to the establishment. Like, this is not gonna fly in this current climate. Chewy, you haven't said anything yet. Do you want to jump in with any thoughts?
I don't know. I honestly haven't seen the thing today. I've kind of had my head in the sand a little bit, but I haven't seen an analysis today that has really gone, yep, that's it. That's it. I mean, there are things that I would say are a major factor, but Biden should have spent his last term going, I'm just doing one term, and this is who I'm picking. And
well, that's what he promised. That's what he got in on.
Here's years to get to know this person.
Yeah.
I do think I love Bernie, but he's too old. He's same criticism we've had for everybody. He was too old last time. He was saying all the right things. He just needed to be fucking 30 years younger. And we'd be talking a completely different game. I don't think anybody in either the traditional Republican Party, whatever remains of them, and the current Democratic Party knows how to take on this. And like, as much as I fucking hate to echo John Key, he described it as a movement, and this clearly is one. And movements, once they've got momentum, it's really hard to point that in a direction or steal them of that. And the outpouring I've seen in social media and in interviews today has mainly been from women going, this is devastating for us, and the ones that have realized that it is going to be devastating for their kids, their daughters, that sort of thing. The power that Maga has. And I'm not even going to call it the Republican Party anymore because they're being eaten from within. It is MAGA. And the power that they have now to further stack the Supreme Court. I'm wondering how short this. No, we're not going to do all this crazy Project 2025 stuff. Just, we said it we said we had nothing to do with it, and for the next 3 months we won't. Yeah. I wonder if it's going to, and maybe this is because I'm a wee bit jaded because of what's happened here. I wonder if that feeling of, okay, we're catastrophizing now, but I'm sure it won't be that bad.
Oh,
And then 6 months later, we're going, oh, holy shit, it's worse than we could imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have a look at what happens here, we've often talked about here about, you know, a right-wing government will move the yardstick slowly away, but they've just gone like all the way to the end of that ruler immediately. And they're already talking, there's articles out there talking about Trump is going to get going on day one. He's very, very clear. And he said something like, I've made promises and this is going to be a government of kept promises. So the stuff that he said about, you know, deporting both illegals and legals, you know, all these things is what he's promised. And that's what, well, I was going to say that's what he'll be held accountable to, but maybe he won't, because he doesn't seem to be held accountable to lots of things. Bomber?
The only way you beat negative populism of Trump is with the populism of Bernie. What was Bernie talking about? Free education, free health. The actual fundamental underpinnings of what it is to be left, the universal left services and provision of those things. Real wages in America have not increased for 30 years. Jane Tapo was doing some amazing work for Watia, talking to working class people on the streets, and they were saying, I haven't had a pay rise for 12 years. 12 years. There are 650,000 Americans who were made homeless last year. 120,000 of them were children. 40% of Americans live each month to month, just one crisis away from being homeless. That level of grinding poverty, the left and the Democrats have done sweet fuck all to do anything about. Just like Jacinda did sweet fuck all in this country towards the reality of the material hardship of people on the bottom. And it's because when we get into power on the left, we go, oh, we don't want to upset people too much and give people too much stuff. So we don't. And we don't give things to those people on the bottom. And those people on the bottom go, why am I voting for you again?
Yeah.
The way that they won this was so unique. Trump understands political resentment probably as well, almost as well as Adolf Hitler does. And let's be very clear. Comparing Trump to Hitler is absolutely legitimate. Absolutely legitimate. I'm someone who studied and enjoyed studying the history of Adolf Hitler and his rise to power. And if you look at his rise to power and the way Trump has risen to power, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And his name should be Bitler, because really, if you layer them up, they're very similar. It's the same kind of cult of personality. It's the same kind of total loyalty to them. It's the same kind of crazy, occultish, Maga, QAnon nonsense. He is an orange fascist, and he will, without doubt, take America and the planet to some pretty dark places as he fulfills his revenge fantasies.